This is going to be my last episode of Color Quickie. So I wanted to give you a really awesome color palette based around Sea Haze by Benjamin Moore. We're also going to give you some technical information on the color, and then I have some color pairings to go with it so you can use it on your next paint project. Let's get into the video. So Sea Haze was recommended to me by one of our Patreon members, so thank you so much for the recommendation. It's an awesome color. It has a beautiful complexity where at its core it is green, but there's some of that gray added in, and it also feels strangely warm, even with all that gray that can sometimes cool a color down considerably. In terms of how dark it is or light it is, we can actually find this out by looking at the color's LRV on the Benjamin Moore website. And once my camera focuses, there you go, there it is. So that means this paint color reflects basically 45% of the light that hits it, and that puts it in that mid-tone category, because the higher the LRV, the brighter the color is, basically. So of course, this is Color Quickie, where I give you a color and then I build a palette based around it. So a 45 LRV does give it some versatility as a paint color. I don't think it's a paint color that will ever feel too light, because it's sort of in that lower half of paint colors. So that's a good thing. If you have areas that maybe get a lot of light, lighter colors will feel washed out, but I don't see that happening with Sea Haze. I think it's a color that will really sort of stand on its own 2 feet, on its sea legs. But on the other hand, if you do use it in a room that gets maybe inadequate lighting, it could feel a little bit dull, a little bit dark. So just be mindful of that when you're using it. For me, this is a color that I could see shining in the secondary parts of your home, bedrooms, bathrooms, maybe even a living room. It just has a nice quality to it where it's not too punchy, it's not too vibrant. The green hue isn't overly obnoxious. So it does sort of fit within a more muted color scheme, which a lot of people will tend to gravitate towards. What about some trim color options for it? So assuming you're using Sea Haze on the walls, what baseboard, frame, door color would I recommend? Well, my first choice would be Frostine, which is part of the AF color line, which I love. The Affinity color collection is really awesome, and Frostine is probably my favorite off-white in the line. It has a crisp quality to it. I find it to be very clean and streamlined. It really sits in the middle between cool and warm. Technically, it does lean a little bit towards the cool side of things, but next to Sea Haze, you won't really see any of that coolness. It'll just be a bright white 86 LRV, so that is in that upper echelon of colors. You'll have quite a bit of contrast between your walls and your baseboards here. Now, what if you wanted a darker trim color, or maybe an accent color for your doors, or perhaps some built-ins or anything like that? This one's awesome. It's called Vintage Wine, and this is what it says it is. It's a wine color, a red wine, a dark sort of Merlot. And what's awesome about it is it's completely complementary to Sea Haze. So the two together are really gonna have this dynamic relationship. A very fun combination, in my opinion. It has an 8 LRV. So very dark color. It's almost like a purple burgundy chalkboard type of look that I really, really enjoy. There is that bit of brown to settle down the saturation a little bit, which I think is great. And you can also justify this as a wall color as well in another room. It's just very, very dark. So be mindful of that. All right, so we got 3 color pairings for our final episode of Color Quickie. So let's get right into it. Starting with Cocoa Butter, which I sort of see as the main color in this palette, which is interesting because it's quite different from Sea Haze. This is a 70 LRV color. It's not gray leaning even. It just has this wonderful light creamy peachy quality that I really enjoy. So this is an awesome option for people that want to bring in some of that warmth, and then let Sea Haze be that opposing color, sort of giving you that balance, that back and forth. And you could just see in this bouquet sitting on this bicycle's basket, a lot of bees. I love me some alliteration. There's some great things happening here. You got cocoa butter in the back, you got your peachy pinky flowers, and then you got those green leaves. So all those colors working together beautifully. They could do the same thing in your home. Our next color pairing really borrows from Sea Haze, but amps up the blue, tones down the green slightly. It's called Beach Glass, and I love this color. Very much in the same sort of family as Sea Haze. I would say they're adjacent, so they're next to each other on the color wheel. This one gives you a little more purity as a color. Like, you won't notice so much of that grayed out, toned down quality that Sea Haze sometimes has. This one is going to be very much a featured color, where it can be used as a slight sort of subtle accent choice in spaces where you want a little more saturation, which I think is fun. And then our third color pairing is Evening Dove. So what you have here is a bit of a charcoal navy. Very rich, not quite as dark as vintage wine. There's about a 4 LRV difference in lightness here. This one just gives you a darker, slightly moody, more dramatic color alternative for certain parts of your home. So this could be an all over the room color if you wanted to, especially if you had some decent lighting. But like I tend to say, if you do have a room that maybe doesn't get great lighting, you don't have to fight against it necessarily. You can go with a color like Evening Dove and really lean in to that depth, that richness for spaces that maybe you want to feel a little more dark or cave-like cozy. I like dark colors like this in offices, for example, where I want to feel focused. I don't want all this light sort of coming in, but to each their own. And for the last time in this fashion, here's your Color Quickie palette all together. Please let me know what you think. And if you're wondering why we're retiring Color Quickie, it's because we want to change the videos up a little bit moving forward. So instead of having a color review and a palette in one, we're going to split them up. So starting next week, you're going to have dedicated color reviews where we'll go a little more in depth on colors, including interior and exterior usage. And then we'll have separate color palette videos that you can enjoy. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all of that. And we got another video right over here.